Well, summer's just about here. Mind you, we don't see much of it at the moment. But this Saturday, I think it is, we're going to get up to 37 degrees. And what that means is we need to cool down, don't we? And avoiding that incredible bill shock with air conditioning costs, we've got an expert going to give us a few tips. Andrew Ford, who's an air conditioning expert for MD Ford and Doonan Air Conditioning, joins me. Good afternoon to you, Andrew.
Good afternoon, Jenny. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Yes, you've got to come into a cool room in summer when it gets up to the 40-degree mark. There's no denying that. And you've fitted it quite a lot over the years. So what are we doing now with reverse cycle? Are we getting on top of the cost? Are we knowing how to run them properly?
The unit manufacturers are helping us a lot, Jenny, because they're becoming more and more energy efficient. So, believe it or not, just an air conditioner 10 years ago compared to one manufactured now is up to 35% cheaper to run. So that's tip number one.
Great.
Yeah, so if you have got a real old clunker or something like that and it's probably noisy and chewing up the power bills, consider updating it to a more modern inverter type one.
Now, there's a lot of things we have to consider. I mean, I know when you go into a hot home, at the end of a day, you tend to put it on and drop the temperature down as low as you can for a while. Is that a silly thing to do at first and then bring it up again a little bit later, or...?
You're right, everyone does do it like that. And by putting it down to a lower temperature doesn't make the air come out any actually colder. It just commits the unit to run longer. So whether it's 18 or 21, it won't make the house any cooler any faster. That's our first thing. But look, when you first get in, the house is very hot. So the second tip I'd give would be that virtually every air conditioner now has got timers built into them. So if you know it's going to be a 38, 40-degree day, don't wait till you come home at 5:30 before you turn it on. The house is already so hot.
Yeah.
You set the timer to come on maybe at 1 or 2 in the afternoon, so the house is pre-cooled when you get in, and then overall that may even reduce the running costs. But if nothing else, it'll make it a lot more comfortable.
So, Andrew, the running cost on average, if you run it at the degree that you suggest, between 23 and 25, the average cost per hour with a reverse cycle, a new one, what do you have an average cost per hour?
The average cost, it obviously depends on the size and they can vary greatly, but let's say a typical house, you're probably looking at around potentially $1 an hour.
Oh, okay, that can add up, can't it?
It can, and then we've had plenty of calls from clients post their installation, say a month or two later, saying, I think there's something wrong with my aircon, I got my first power bill.
I know, the comfort's all important, but you've got to think about, because people are struggling at the moment with the cost of power, that's for sure. So if you put it on at 1 o'clock and get home at 5, that's already $5, or $4 on the run. So it adds up. Yeah. Over the weekend, if you're home watching telly, that really adds up too. So, okay, what do you do? Do you cool down the house and turn it off, perhaps, or do you keep it running, but if you can afford it?
Keep it running, because that thermal mass inside the brickwork of your home is like a heat sink, and it just holds that heat in. So you're going to find, even if you've pre-cooled it, you turn it off, the house will heat up more slowly if it's had that head start. But nevertheless, it will warm up. But you may need to then just adjust up to 25 degrees, for example, so you don't get that massive running cost. Oh, it does.
It costs a little bit less if you have it at that temperature, does it?
Correct, yeah. But every 1 degree saves about 10% off the running cost. So between 24 degrees to setting to 23, you're going to cost you about 10% more.
Oh, that's a good thing to know too. Now, this is one thing that I probably wasn't able to do or thought about it because it was a bit too high for me to reach, was cleaning the inside filter.
Yes, I was just going to mention that one next too, Jenny. Everyone forgets about the filter. It's out of sight, out of mind, and that makes a big difference to the running costs because many people, years when we do a service, we open the filter up and it's just caked full of dust. So one, it's unhealthy because you're breathing all that air passes through that dirty filter to be recirculated. That's number one. But secondly, it reduces the airflow. And when the airflow gets reduced, the capacity gets reduced. And obviously that leads to longer running times.
So we should be checking that quite often, once a month perhaps during summer when we're running it.
Yeah, I'd love to see that, but normally every 2 months through summer and possibly every 4 to 6 months, in that shoulder periods and through winter where it's generally used a bit less.
Now, if you have ducted zone systems, what do you suggest here?
Yes, another great point there, Jenny, is that most ducted refrigerated systems in residential situations have zones, as you said. So that means we can turn on and off different parts of the home. But the less of the home that you've got turned on at any one time, that's the net area the air conditioner's trying to cool. So by reducing it, obviously it's going to cool it a lot quicker, and therefore it'll start to cycle off or slow down if it's an inverter type one. So that's a massive tip. If you're not in a room, just turn that zone off and shut the door, so we're not still including it into the total area, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely know what you mean too. Now, I can't work this one out. If you have a split system and the room conditions are very warm, as soon as you turn on the air conditioner to cooling, you're suggesting to open a window and a door.
Yeah, just to flush out that first maybe 15 minutes only. Especially it's ideal if the window is quite a high one, because obviously the hot air is hovering on the underside of the ceiling. So it just allows the air, even if the air outside is warm, maybe not if it's 42, but if it's just 32, 35, just let some fresh air come in first, flush out that heat, then immediately shut the windows after probably 10, 15 minutes. And then let the aircon do its job. Yeah,
you find you do that in the car, I think, if you get into the car on a hot day, open the windows, let the hot air out. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And the obvious one, of course, is trying to keep the direct sunlight out.
Yes, that's a big one, isn't it? And people wonder why, if you've got a nice view, it's very hard to shut the curtains. You don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Any direct sun through a glass is just a murder for raising the heat load and obviously therefore the temperature in the house. So we'll just might have to sacrifice the view for the first hour or two if that easterly sun, for example, is beating through those windows. Once the sun's off it, you can open it up again. But definitely direct sun is just, very much an increase in running costs.
So split systems usually have a sleep function, is that right?
They do, and that's a really handy feature because, like a lot of timers in remote controls, they're quite fiddly to set up when you set up a start and then stop mode. But with the sleep button, it's generally one button, and you press it, and that sets it to turn the air conditioner off after 5 hours. So they're assuming a bedroom situation mainly.
Yeah.
So the aircon will turn itself off, so it lets everyone get to sleep in that room. But more importantly, after the first hour, it'll raise the room set point temperature by 1 degree automatically. So lets you get to sleep at, say, 23 degrees, so you can cuddle up. Once we're asleep, our bodies cool down anyway, so we can afford to raise the room temperature 1 degree on the set point. Air conditioner doesn't run nearly as long and will turn off completely after 5 hours.
Gosh, they've improved over the years. What about if you to have a ceiling fan on at the same time to circulate the cool air faster? Would that help?
Not really, because cold air falls anyway. So ceiling fans work like that well in winter because the hot air is, of course, sitting underneath the ceiling level. We want to push that back down to the level we can feel it.
Yeah.
But conversely, in summer, we'd actually be adding to the discomfort because we're pushing that warm air back down to cold air will fall naturally where we want it to be.
Okay. So if you follow all of these points that you've mentioned to us today, a lot of them is going to help the cost to come down a bit.
Definitely, yeah, it can make a marked difference. Like some people get their power bills jump by $1,000.
Oh my gosh!
For a 2-month window, from a spring to a summer month. So that being assuming maybe a hot summer month versus say September when you haven't got it on at all. So your bill from a non-aircon billing period to a full-on aircon billing period can be as much as $1,000 extra.
Unbelievable. Mind you, growing up, no one ever had air conditioning. We used to sit on the windowsill trying to gasp for air on a hot summer's night.
I think we can all remember that in the car, Jenny.
Oh, my gosh. Things are so much easier, aren't they?
Aren't they?
They were cruel. It's great to speak to you, Andrew. Thank you very much indeed. I'll put you back out to Barry.